Good evening, our viewers. Thank you so much for joining my channel. You are invincible on this auspicious day of Diwali. Today is a beautiful day, and we have a very fascinating interview. We have a guest, Diego Antolini, all the way from Italy, and my fellow YouTuber, Shomu Chatterjee. Well, we are going to talk about aliens today. I'm going to ask questions to Diego regarding higher consciousness and different dimensions, whereas Shomu will ask him about the government authorities, the legalities, and the authenticity of the same. So, without further ado, I'd like to share a few kind words of Diego for him. So, Diego belongs to the X-Plan group in Italy. The X-Plan group has been actively engaging in the study and research of unexplained phenomenon for the last 15 years. The X-Plan Group's main dissemination outputs include articles and media files on its official channel, Xplanet, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Weibo. X-Plan Group and Energy to Karma have joined hands in seeking the truth, debunking conspiracies, unexplained phenomena, world agenda, bringing new information and research to surface and opening the eye of the common man. So that is Diego Antolini regarding X-Man. Sorry, not X-Man. We are talking about aliens. So that's where the X-Man came in. About the X-Plan group. That's Diego. And I like to share about Shomu a little bit. Conspiracy theories have always piqued the interest of people worldwide. We have with us today one such conspiracy theorist, Shomu Chatterjee. Shomu is a fellow YouTuber here with us at Energy to Karma, running his own channel, Stealing from the Future. During the pandemic, the work from home scenario has given him time to explore other sides of his expertise. That is, to speak on burning issues in our country from a common man's perspective. He mainly speaks on conspiracy theories, global and social issues, and what we could do to change the world in a small way. So that was about Shomu and Diego. So welcome again, both of you, to You Are Invincible. A very, very happy Diwali to both of you. Hope you're having a fantastic day.
Thank you, Abhishek, and it's my pleasure of being here as a guest to your channel, and the best greetings to you for such a beautiful and I believe great festival for India and all the Indian users. And of course, hi to Shlomo, and thank you also for being here.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Diego. And that was a great introduction to me, Abhishek. And I thank you. And happy Diwali to Abhishek. Happy Diwali to the viewers, and happy Diwali to Diego as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you for this platform.
Which, by the way, that leads me to the first question that I want to ask you before you start asking me a question about this Diwali. I've heard about this festival from so many sources, and I know it's very big for India, but can you guys explain me what exactly it's all about? Because I'm not Indian, I've never been there, although I really want to, but what is exactly Diwali?
Yes, surely, Diego. One day you're going to be here in India and meet all of us. So, Diwali is one of the most auspicious festivals of the Hindu religion. It is basically, from a spiritual perspective, a victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. Furthermore, it is also said that it is a celebration of the day when Lord Ram returned to his kingdom Ayodhya after defeating the demon king Ravana. So that is the festival of Deepavali or Diwali in India.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Diego, this year, Diwali has a much larger significance. It has a much more impact because of the COVID-19 situation, looming war-like situations across the globe, then police brutality, then you have major presidential elections, people awakening. Every one of us, because of this, every one of us should awaken the Lord Ram in us. What will happen is when you change from within, it changes the outer world, because the outer world is just a reflection of our inner self. So when we all become like the Lord and do good things, it really creates a better place to live in the world. So we can celebrate every day as Diwali, and it will help us to light up the world light up our homes, light up our lives. Yeah.
Well, then I'm even more honored of being here with you tonight. And I hope that also this conversation that we're going to have on such a very sensitive topic in the introduction, Abhishek named X-Men, but it was not actually a slip of the tongue because there is much of what we see and watch in such stories as, for example, the superheroes or the Marvel, the DC, the American so-called the superhumans. There is so much more truth than actually we can imagine.
Mhm.
And what we are going to talk today about it maybe could shed a little bit of light about that.
For sure, for sure. That's really exciting, Diego, and I'm looking forward to this interaction. So we can now start with the interview. My first question, Diego, to you is, we have only heard of telepathic communications, interdimensional travel, higher dimensions, cloaking devices. Are these beings that you speak of truly capable of such omnipotence?
Before 2017, I would have answered probably I have no idea because during my previous investigation was very hard for me to come across to such an experience as majority of us. It's kept totally ignorant about this technology. So you really have to be one of probably the high-tech people working on black projects or member of certain branches of the governments in order to get knowledge of this. But after 2017, when we first learned about the Valmalenko area, the Valmalenko phenomena, and we delved into it, and after 4 years that I've been there, every single year for an extensive amount of time, from few days the first year until 2 weeks this year, well, my answer can be a little bit more precise. You're right. Telepathic communication, yes. The majority of the creatures and the beings that are reported living or interacting with the area possess that ability. They do communicate via the mind. They have telepathic communication among themselves, and they're also able to speak with humans in that way. We have talked with several witnesses that receive the messages in their mind, mostly positive messages, not threatening. In some instances, the messages pertain to knowledge, deep knowledge about the universe and about the civilizations. In other cases, were just simple messages like everyday life. In one instance, we have the story of a hunter who was in the woods and had an incident. He fell into a ravine and got stuck under a huge tree, so much so that he couldn't move. And his backpack bounced far from him, so he had no way to reach out for his phone. So what he did, out of panic, he mentally asked for help. Like in his head, he had this concept of help me, to nobody actually, but he was totally afraid. And here they comes, two little creatures, gray type, big heads, very thin, looked at him with the big black eyes, and as if they received that message, they went to the backpack, they grabbed it, they brought it to him so he could talk with the phone, call the police and ambulance and the firefighters or whoever there came, and he was rescued. On being rescued, he told the authority about this. He said, I was saved by two creatures, to something that they were not human. And of course, nobody believed him. And even right now, in those small villages, he is reputed to be a crazy man, because after that day, of course, his life changed. But he maintained his account. He said, I was saved by them. If it were not for them, and probably if it were not for my thought that I sent out, probably I would have died there, because those mountains are not very much populated. I mean, if it happens something to you in the woods, it takes probably days before someone can find you. And I've experienced that. I've been there. I didn't go just shelters or in the villages. I actually went to the woods. I went to the bare rocks. I even lost myself in some cases, and if it were not for my guides and expert people that were with me, it would have been difficult to really going back to the same area. So telepathic communication, yes. Interdimensional travel, it's more complicated, but still we do have evidence. We have videos, we have pictures of a vortex that appears out of nowhere in the sky, that of luminous globes or sphere of lights that disappear inside the mountain or come out of the mountain, which is sheer rock, sheer and solid rock, and you can see that they just go in and out as if nothing happens, like as if the matter for some reason opens up to them and they disappear inside. This also was told us by shepherds, that they go there at 4 o'clock in the morning when they need to attend to the cows or to the goats that are predominantly the domesticated animals that are there in the pastures. And once they told us, well, you know, every time we go out at 4 o'clock in the morning, we see this light coming in and out. For us is normal. I mean, we don't, these people are very simple people. They're not very much educated. They don't go on internet. They don't have time. That their day is basically working in this beautiful natural landscape from early morning until early night, and they go to bed. They're very tired, and the following day they attend to the animals again. They're very simple people. So when we talk to them, it's impossible for them to conceive such complicated things like a sphere of lights going inside the mountain, or describing some impossible trajectories, changing colors and everything. It's really hard for them. That there is no reason why they should do that. So I would say interdimensional travels and higher dimensions, absolutely yes. Cloaking devices, I'm going to tell you something that probably would surprise you, but maybe not too much, because both of you are also investigating in this area. The cloaking device belong also to a terrestrial technology. It's not just alien. Military already have this technology. They do not have, as far as I know from my resources, they do not have the teleportation technology. They don't have that yet, but they do have the cloaking device, and it's really a matter of physics. It's how you divert the light from the surface. Instead, the surface, the light hitting the surface, thereby making it visible. For some reason, they develop an electromagnetic field where the light bounces back. And so not hitting the object, we don't see the object. It's very simple. I mean, from the physics point of view, it's logical. From the technology point of view, it's not that simple to implement, but they do have. So I'm telling you this difference because during this conversation that we're having, when I talk about some crafts that are seen in the sky, or Abhishek, you have some pictures that you're going to show. Not all of the craft that we're showing are alien in nature. Some of them can be, in fact, very much terrestrial, although not identifiable and probably secret.
Wow. That's quite intriguing, Diego. Talking about pictures, I would like to share this photograph with the viewers. This photo, it looks like a single alien who's standing. Maybe he's just standing still. I don't know what's happened. Maybe he wants to connect to humans, or what is it? If you can throw some light, Diego, on this photograph, it's really amazing. I mean, when I saw it for the first time, it was stupendous. So please, if you can share some views, Diego.
You know, when we decided to do this together, and I anticipated you that we have a huge amount of material, photographic and video and audio, and we just chose a little samples just to give our users, your users, a glimpse of how big, of the extent of these Balmalenko files and this amazing investigation that we are living through it. This alien, I chose it specifically because it's not, it doesn't belong to the classical grays as we can see in the movies or in some representation, and it's not an interdimensional being like light beings or completely not materialized. This is a hybrid. You can see the physicality of the figure. You can see that the physical is that the body is a half real and half ethereal. These beings, some of the beings that are there, are capable of shifting from one dimension to another, and we believe they're also standing in between two dimensions. That's why they can partially become real, means that it's not that they're not real if they're not visible, means they can become concrete in our reality, meanwhile staying in their own dimension or in another dimension. This is, we believe, it's for a sort of a protection. Let's say, for example, they materialize a 50%. This materialization allows them to be visible on cameras, to be invisible to the naked eye, and if someone wants to attack them out of fear, for example, let's think about a policeman or a hunter or someone who is armed, and they want to hurt them, because their body is not fully present in our reality, probably the bullet would not harm them, because their organs or their physiology, it's partly in another dimension. So we believe that this is also kind of a protection. Actually, this was told me by one contactee that it's also my friend, and we had a lot of confrontation about this. And his alien contacts told him that sometimes they prefer not to be fully materialized, not because they can't, but because they know that some human can have an unpredictable reaction. So they also need to protect their lives from that. When you ask me the first question, do they have omnipotence? No, they do have limitation. They can be killed, they can die. Once any being come into existence in our reality, they're also bound to the limitation of our reality, so that they need to respect the law of our physics. If they stand in their own dimensions, it doesn't mean that the dimension respects our laws of physics. They have different laws. So in that dimension, they're perfectly safe. So when we see, for example, ghost-like creature or translucent creatures, we have pictures of that. Creatures almost invisible, you can see just the silhouette. They are totally protected. Nobody can harm them. Only force fields, electromagnetic fields, they can harm them, because the electromagnetism, it's something that goes across the matter and can actually, it's one of the technology that is used to shift from one dimension to another. So this alien, why I say this, it's because that we have another footage of this alien in a little bit of wider frame, where you can see that on his appearance, to the sides, he has two orbs appearing with him, and the two orbs have a language. One language is a Morse code for love, and another one is a kind of a Hebrew characters that stands for God. At least that how it was translated by the contact who actually took the picture. So this being, I chose it so to understand that what are there are several kinds of beings, and not all of them fall under categories that we already know. There is so much more to discover. There are a lot of them. They are probably never been classified by any known agency or researchers.
Wow, this information, Diego, to me, it's coming as if, I'm actually watching a film and you're actually saying what can happen in a movie. The portals that they show in the movies, would that be a possibility when you say that they're half in our dimension and maybe other half of them is in a different dimension? The portal through which they enter a universe, and then they can, if they feel there is a certain kind of fear from humans or some species, they might just go back in that portal and go back to their own universe. Would that be a possibility?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happens if they feel threatened or they feel in danger. They simply vanish. They vanish means that they can, exactly like you said, they have doors. They go beyond the door, and that door goes to the dimension they come from, what they can access, and they simply are out of our reality. Doesn't mean that they are not existing anymore. They simply shift the laws, the set of laws that govern that dimension rather than ours. but they can still be there, consciously speaking. And that's another thing very complicated that we also need to understand. The consciousness and the body can be two distinct things. We can have these beings shifting dimensions physically, but the consciousness, they can be aware of still being here. And that's another very
Wow.
complicated things that we're still studying.
Wow. That's amazing. It's really amusing. Seriously, Diego. Okay, Shomo, you have any thoughts on that, or you can go on with your question?
Yeah, I actually even I felt I was watching a movie. When he said that when they face any human interaction and some maybe a human trying to attack them, they just flee. They just disappear from our presence. It does not mean that they've gone completely from the surface of the earth, but they've gone from the presence. I just wanted to know that I've seen so many movies of aliens wherein they kind of sometimes attack human beings. So over here, the areas that we are talking about, yeah, do they anytime attack on the mode of self-defense, or they just flee when they find danger?
Except from some files from the 80s compiled by a former, I believe it was intelligence officer that talked about some attacks from aliens in America. I never had any experience or reports about some aggression from the aliens towards civilians or humans. And especially in the Valmalenko area, where these beings seems to be quite frequently sighted or interacting with them. We've never heard about such a threatening uh, act on the part of the beings. Um, we have heard of one girl a few years ago who she was driving back home after work, and it was night, and the streets there can be pretty narrow and a lot of twisted inside the woods, like mountain terrain. It's not easy to see. I think there was also some mist, fog, and it was not a good visibility. Basically, she ran over one animal. She thought it was an animal like a deer. It jumped, this animal, this object jumped out of the woods into the road, and she just slammed it and ran it over. So she stopped to see if it was quite big, but not too big. So she stopped. She thought it was an animal. She was sorry, so she wanted to see if it was still alive. And when she jumped out of the car and went observing what she had hit, she saw this little gray alien figure with the big head dead under her car. And she fell in such a shock that she couldn't be able to talk for several weeks after that incident. Eventually, the authorities were called. She found the courage to speak on the phone and call for police. The police arrived. They sent someone from Milan, from the biggest city nearby. Actually, it's about 3-4 hours driving, but all the way from Milan, some people, like they called it rescuing people, came. They backed up this creature into a plastic bag and they brought it to a lab in Milan, and nobody has ever heard anything about him anymore. This girl is still there. We tried several times to approach her. We know who she is. We actually talked to her, but she refuses absolutely to talk about that episode. She confessed something to a close friend of her, which we talked to, and she told us that she's still, after several years, she's still under deep shock. So what she saw there was totally unearthly, totally that she could never recognize as belonging to this planet, or nothing that she had ever seen. Okay, so we had this incident a couple of times that there is such a dramatic event, but we never had any. Usually, Shomo, what happens is that if there is an unexpected encounter and the creature doesn't want that, they simply disappear. They can be really fast, and they possess technology to, you will see later in another picture that Abhishek will show us, that they have teleportation, they have light beams that can just suck them up in the sky. So I mean, they prefer to live rather than be physically confronted with humans. They avoid that.
That's great. That's really nice. Yeah. So I'll get on to my question. So what is the best way you can describe to us the Valmalenko Valley phenomenon?
The best way is one word that I created and I'm pursuing as my personal theory that I believe summarizes what's happening there, and it's exo-integration. Exo-integration, in my view, is that condition by which we have a human community integrated or interacting with a non-human community or non-human beings. We can call it colony, we can call it visitors, something that it's alien to that community. Alien in this case means not only from another region or another area of the world, it means literally from another world. That could be a dimension, that could be a physical world within our galaxy, we don't know. But definitely exo-integration, it's when a community is integrating with something else coming from far away from all standpoints, from a social point, from economical, from a psychological, from material, for any type of viewpoints that you can think of, it's totally alien. And there is an integration. So the Valmalenko area, since at least 2009, we know that the first recording of the local authorities about unexplained phenomena and aerial phenomena on the ground dates back to 2009, where the first reports, photographs and pictures were taken, audio was recording and so forth. But the peak of the phenomena appear to have occurred around 2015, 2014, some like a couple of years before we were called up into action. We were called up by a local resident who first wrote us an email informing us about the situation there, asking us if we knew anything about the Valmalenko, and we said, no, honestly, we never heard about it. And she went on to explain, she gave us some articles from newspapers, she gave us some links. There was at the time a blogger who, from Turin, another industrial city next to Milan, who had collected some of the pictures and was carrying on a blog trying to report, at least to keep people informed about that. So we collected this information and we decided to finally prepare a field investigation there for the following year. So it was 2016. Valmalenko Valley phenomena are so varied and so extreme and so complicated that if we only look at the pictures and we hope to understand the phenomena by looking at the picture, that's the mistake that many of the Italian research groups have done so far. They go there with technology, they go there with infrared devices, they go there with drones, and they hope they can take the picture of the century and to prove that the picture is true, and then they conquer the world. But for us, our approach is a little bit different. If we want to understand why such a particular condition is there in that valley, I think we need to work more on the people than on the pictures.
That's true. That's totally true, Diego. I totally agree with you. It's more important to work on the situation rather than just focus, okay, let's get a photo and then we'll get it out in the public, in the universe, in the world, and get the so-called media. I mean, it's just a very selfish way of doing it rather than having a coexistence of the species on planet Earth. That brings me to the next question. That's the second question from me, Diego. What do you think is their understanding of consciousness and energy? Over here, I'm talking about the extraterrestrials and aliens, their understanding of consciousness and energy from your point of view.
I can answer to this question only through the knowledge that I have second-handed by few persons living there that actually had contacts with aliens in this respect. I've never had any personal connection in this respect about consciousness with them, but from what I have collected, they possess a vast knowledge about our universe, about our planet, and they do favor the spreading of this knowledge to humans. They're actually, there is one particular kind of beings there that we call observers, that they are there to watch. And when they watch, this is also a big symbol about watching, because we know that where our human race gained consciousness of what we are, we have this free will concept, right? The idea that we have choices upon our destiny. We don't have just to follow our destiny blindly, but we can actually change it by the power of our will. Of course, so whoever of us decides to exercise that will, that's also free. You can decide just to follow blindly whatever happens to you, and that's perfectly capable and goes within the free will. Or you can choose to exercise your power. So these beings are well aware of this, and the lore, the knowledge that they gave to few people there is exactly this. We have the power to master our own destiny. We have an incredible source of power within us, our soul and our consciousness, that it's something that not everyone in the universe possess. So they also confirmed what other people who are in touch with alien civilizations confirmed before, also our ancient lore, you know, the most ancient a civilization like the Hindu, the Chinese, or the Egyptians, they all say that our consciousness is the most powerful thing that we have. And it doesn't mean that our consciousness is just your mind, our mind. Our consciousness is something bigger than that, something that actually pervades all our different bodies, or all our multidimensional layers. If you understand what true consciousness is, then what these beings are doing, like shifting dimension, traveling from planet to planet, it doesn't seem that science fiction or that difficult anymore. It's just because we do not have the level of understanding to read that, and to before that to accept it. Once we accept that this is true, and we just need to learn to try to get to that level, then it's just a path. We have a power. We choose to learn. We choose to open our mind, to open our heart to this new knowledge, and just we go on. From a conscious point of view, it has to be this opening. If we only relate on technology, and if we only think that the most advanced sign of our civilization is science and technology and machines, and we totally forgot our true nature, we will never advance. We will only, like you guys in your YouTube channel say it many times, we will only become more vulnerable to the powers that don't want us to grow.
True, true, Diego. I mean, when you're talking about the consciousness, I mean, if we open up to the ninth consciousness, which is the highest that we have, we can actually have the same energy, the same frequency that we are talking about right now regarding the species that we don't know much about, whether it's the aliens, extraterrestrials. It's about delving deeper inside our own brain, inside our own self, you know. So it's very true. I mean, as long as we become aware and open about it, the more we get connected to the universal energies that are around this universe as well. Thank you, Diego, for sharing this as well. Let's go on to the next question. Shomu, what's your next question?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'll move on. So I just wanted to ask you, is there any kind of government involvement in the Valmalenko Valley?
Okay, this question is very sensitive, Shlomo, because it's, of course, I can give you the simple answer, or I can give you a more complicated answer, but let's start with simple. Then if we have time or chance, maybe another time we're going to elaborate something more about this. When it comes to
Sure.
governments, it's
Sure.
always complicated, obviously. I can assure you this: every single government in our planet is aware of the existence of alien civilization. Every single government in our planet is aware that some of these civilizations visited, are visiting, and will visit our planet. All the governments in our planet at some point in time have had a contact with some of these civilizations. Now, it gets complicated when we look at the geopolitics of our world, where are countries that have more power than others to decide the destinies of entire nations. In that case, we assist also a difference in technological advancement. We know that some countries have achieved technology advancement earlier than others, faster than others, and thereby they can exercise more power upon the others. So when we do this, we understand that if we look at it from a evolutionary point of view, there's something wrong with that. I mean, if you have few countries that have technology and they use that technology to subdue other nations, that totally goes against the harmonics of the universe, the harmony of an evolution. So there must be something else behind. And that's when we can make two differentiation. There are governments who agreed to some point to respect the order of the universe, to exercise of free will and respect others, thereby even sacrificing some power in order to protect their citizens and also advance in not only in technology but also in the spiritual side, in the educational side, in the consciousness side. Other countries, on the other hand, they sacrificed not only the spiritual side, but they sacrificed their own citizens just to come to terms with something, some force that is not interesting that we evolve, but they're only interested in power. And this country acquired technology in exchange, and that technology allowed them to be very powerful. So in the Val Malenko, there are several governments that know about it. I have the evidence from reliable sources that the United States of America visited that area. Some countries in the Middle East visited that area. They questioned the local authorities. They observed. We have also evidence, but although I think I detected the devices, but of course I couldn't touch them. I couldn't run a proper analysis. But we've been told that the NASA also went there to set up some devices to detect electromagnetic readings, to observe the infrared, some phenomena there. As a matter of fact, in one of our videos on the Explain Group YouTube channel, I am standing right on top of this little village where NASA officials went there to install some devices and were spotted by the locals who in one morning questioned about their presence. It was early morning and an old man found these people in this property and he asked them, "What are you doing here? This is my property." And they simply turned at him and said, "Don't worry, we are NASA officials. So just go back, be peaceful." And sure enough, that's what he did. He didn't question them anymore because we believe there is some awareness that of the phenomena there, and for some reason this person probably felt that if NASA was there, he didn't have to ask for documents or anything. He just accepted the fact that if NASA is there, is to protect them. So I answer and I try to wonder myself. I said, what is this protection from if apparently nothing is going on there? So what in the heck these NASA things are doing there to detect what? and why things have to be so secret if the community is integrated. That's when we started to doubt about this exo integration thing. Like in 2018, when we held the conference speaking about exo integration, and that's when the observer came to, as you will show another picture. We believe that the exo integration was very smooth, but then later on, from 2019 on, in the last couple of years, we started to think that again, this phenomenon is more complicated than it's just a normal widespread integration. There are probably some parts in which the integration happens, some others there are off limits. They just don't go there. Nobody goes there. Why? So to answer your question in a nutshell, Shlomo, where the government is involved, the government is involved with technology, it's involved with some sort of enforcement, and it's involved with secrecy. And if you have secrecy, you have danger.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, Diego. So before we show the next photograph, Diego, to our audience viewers, I just want to remind you that we have Diego Anteloni all the way from Italy. We are talking about aliens. We are talking about the government legalities and whether it is authentic or not. So we'll continue with this interview, which is going really, really amazing. So this is the next photograph, Diego, which it actually looks as if they are two fighter planes. If you can look at it, I just felt it's maybe a B-52 bomber or something. I don't know, some stealth aircraft. But is this also a part of the alien world or something?
That picture is very important. First of all, is not the only picture that we have about those craft. We have several photographs of those triangular dark crafts flying at different altitudes on top of villages and cities like that. We have actually some pictures of diamond-shaped craft, translucent white craft. There are so many crafts that have been spotted on the skies of the Val Malenco and more the Valtellina. The Valtellina is the valley is a tourist attraction actually because it's so close to Switzerland. So a lot of people go there in winter to ski, in the summer to spend time in a natural landscape. But these crafts are particular. I chose this picture because first of all, look at the altitude these crafts are flying. It's very low, almost touching
Yes.
the roofs of the houses. And you're right, they look like bombers. So there is no way bombers are allowed to fly at that low altitudes in a civilian area where is inhabited area. It's impossible. And more so, those craft were completely soundless. They didn't make any sound. And you would say that the craft of that dimension, especially if they're bombers, they would make a very loud sound. And at that altitudes, they could damage the property. They could break glasses. They could scare people. So they were spotted apparently just by visual. In this case, people actually saw them to the naked eye. And that's one of the difference with the other crafts that are not visible, but only can get out once you take a picture by accident. For example, people are taking picture of the sunset, or they're taking picture of the mountains, and then they look at their digital camera and, oh, there is some object. But in this case, they were plainly visible. And so it means, why I'm saying this, because probably what we're looking at here is terrestrial technology. It's a military for sure, most likely secret, as we have no record about Italy or Switzerland possessing these planes, and we also have no understanding that Americans or other powers are allowed to fly over Italian sky like that. So it's probably secret military technology, and you can see under the two planes, under the two craft, there is a sort of a white bulb. There is a white dome. Sorry, blue. It's a bluish dome, bluish white dome.
Mm.
And we believe that that's a kind of a plasma, is a plasma ball, a plasma, which probably replaces the fuel, the ordinary fuel. So in this case, it could be the source of electromagnetic field that allows this craft to move. And that's the reason why no needs sound, no needs reactors, no needs burning anything. They simply generate this electromagnetic field and follow through the natural fields that are in the air, and they just go, which is the technology that allegedly is used by the most advanced civilization. They don't use like people talk about plutonium or even nuclear energy. There are some, but still is not the most advanced. The most advanced is simply you use the natural force fields that every planet has around, and you just move following this stream. It's like fishes when they go into the ocean, they follow the streams and the flows and the currents, or the birds when they follow the winds. Well, in this case, some craft, they simply plug into the force fields of the earth and move. These crafts are pretty amazing because we know that almost 100% with certainty it's not alien, it's terrestrial, which raises even more questions about what reality we're really living and what we've been told about our civilization, not just about aliens, about our civilization, the degree of advancement that we really have.
That's very interesting, Diego. Very, very interesting. That brings me to my next question, which is, why haven't these beings made contact with us? You think they're scared of us, the human race?
Okay, this ties in with Shlomo's question about the government involvement, what I believe. This is my idea, still based on circumstantial evidence and a lot of people that I spoke with at various levels, government and non, authorities and non. I believe that because of our current system, from governments to governments, based on the exert of power, of the pressure that one country can exert upon others to show their power. Our system right now in our world is not based on a friendly and harmonious interaction, but basically it's based on how much power, how much force you can show to others so that others either are your allies if they don't want to be destroyed, or they are your they are subject. They have to follow directives. So friends or enemies are made by the degree of power in terms of technology, of course, that you have, that you can sport, you can display. Because of this, alien civilizations that are following the free will concept, the concept of the raising of the consciousness, of course, they cannot render themselves visible at a mass level because there is not such a unified level in which the human race stands right now. Human race is divided, is scattered, it's torn apart by the government decisions, the government policies that are never oriented for an actual human growth or human evolution. They are just oriented towards the strengthening of their own power. So they also avoid and they forbid this civilization from having a mass contact with humans, and this is just the plain logic. If alien civilizations would agree with this type of system, what would be the obstacle from the government to expose them? That would be nothing. Actually, they should use that by saying, you see, other civilizations in the universe are following exactly our way, our models. It means that we are on the right way. So here it is. We are taking the right decision. I mean, if they know that this civilization follow the same system. There is no reason to hide from us, but they do. And the reason they do is because they know that once these civilizations opens up to us, all the government systems based on power and interest and financial gain will crumble, would simply stop. And so would stop their power and their and the concentrated elitarian oligarchic empire that 1% or 0.5% of the population built upon the rest of the world. This is to use logic, and it's my opinion. I'm still waiting for someone to disprove this. Why do they not make contact? Because they must let us take our own decision. We must choose. The choice is ours. We must choose for ourselves where we want to go. And unfortunately, our decision is based upon the decision of our leaders at a mass level. This is your question is at a mass level. Individually, it's a different story. Individually, they have manifested to us, to a selective people that are, they have reached enough consciousness, enough understanding, and they make their choice. They can make themselves visible, and they do. And they tell us, you can, as an individual, be free. But of course, as an individual, it's just one little contribution that we do to humanity. The real deal, the real enlightenment will be finally when all humanity united will be able to do that shift. And unfortunately, even what's happening this year, I still think that we are far from being, from having that level of consciousness. We have to work a lot more.
That's true, Diego. That's true. And that's also a very intriguing point of view that you just shared right now. That's really intriguing. Well, Shomo, let's go on to your next question, please.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So while I was hearing about the mass contact is not happening, I mean, so that's what I was thinking. If it would have happened, obviously there would have been a lot more avenues that would have opened for us as human beings, studying about them, having more educational avenues for them. But unfortunately, yeah, it does not happen. Anyways, going forward, what is the geological significance of Valmaleko Valley? Do you know?
Yes, it's a very good point, Shomo, because there is a particular geology of that valley that, in my opinion, is a point of interest for at least the beings and the creatures that physically are there, and they have a presence, a material presence. One of the first questions that I asked to when I went for the first time in Valmalenko was, what do you have here in terms of minerals and metals is particular in this case?
Yeah.
And they told me, well, first of all, and I'm going to show you what, this stone, which is a crystal quartz.
Yeah.
It's a crystal quartz, and the area surrounding the mountain, the Pizzo Scalino mountain, it's full of this. We can find entire boulders like 200 times bigger than this, like boulders, really rocks.
Wow.
Pure crystal quartz. And the purity of this quartz, it's close to 99%. So the area has one of the purest crystal quartz in the world. And you know how powerful crystal quartz are for developing of technology, as well as developing of some consciousness and some what we say psychic abilities. But in fact, they tap into brain waves that can enhance our abilities. So, for example, memory, for example, concentration, for example, the crystal quartz can charge our inner self, our energy levels. And they're also used, of course, you have to cut them, you have to put them into electrical circuits, but they have a property to generate electrical field if mechanically strained, and vice versa. If you charge them electrically, they can display some mechanical properties. So they are very versatile. And there are today, the crystals are the basis of our current technology, nanotechnology, smart technology, IoT, all the syncing between machines and the systems. Everything is made based on quartz. So that immediately took my attention, because when they answered this, and I went there myself, and I saw those big rocks of quartz, and they also told me that in ancient times, in that area, ancient times means a century ago, even in the beginning, at the turning of the century, people believe that the Pizzo Scalino, the mountain where all the phenomena are happening, is almost entirely made of quartz. So it could be a huge quartz antenna, just a pyramid-like, pointing at the sky. So it's a huge dish, like an amplifier for the cosmic energy. So that's, to me, it meant a lot, because then I understand why either humans or non-humans could be interested in mining, extracting material from them. But it's not only that. There is another rock. This one, it's called the serpentine, and it's a special kind of granite, marble. It's actually very similar to marble, but has conducing properties. It can be used also in the nanotechnology and smart devices. It can be charged and displays very peculiar properties. There is a study made by some Americans, engineers and scientists that I've read, explaining how the serpentine is essential in some electronic and electrical applications. So you just do the math. Crystal plus the serpentine, and the serpentine is present in some nations in the world, like United States, China, Central Asia, but not at this degree of purity. Again, we are talking about Val Malenko having a pure mineral or metal such quartz or serpentine, and even stones like this, that if you see the reflection, it looks like a piece of iron. Like you would never say it's a piece of rock. It's like you say it's a metal. In fact, it looks like a metal, it feels like a metal, but it's a rock. So this probably is an iron ore of very high purity. And when I went up to the Pizzo Scalino this year, rocks like this of pure iron, they were giant everywhere, which means that the soil is rich in this mineral and metals. It's very precious. And as a matter of fact, there are many quarries, and the mountain also, probably Abhishek is going to show in the next picture or so, that there are some interesting rocks that you can see around there.
Yes, Diego. Before I show you the vertical rock, I want to show you this photograph, which is of, to me, it looks like a creature is flying. It looks like a human to me. If you can just look at this winged creature, it's very intriguing. I've never seen something like this ever in my life. What do you think, Diego? What is this? Who's this?
What it is, it's difficult to say, but we started to have knowledge about this creature a few years ago, 2018, when I was with one of my local contacts. We were visiting one area, special area of interest, and all of a sudden he looked up in the sky and said, "I saw something." So he told me, "Don't move," and he took a picture of me from under my chin, so that in the picture you can see my face, and on the sky, one of these winged creatures. What you are showing appears to have bat-like wings, like a bat. But the one that was taken with me in the picture had feathered wings, like an eagle, or in that case an angel, because in that picture you can clearly see a woman-like shape with long hair and these white wings. It's very beautiful. It was just standing above my head. That was the first time, and then I started to dig deep into that, and many people came up saying, no, we saw them. We saw them on the highest peaks of the mountains around here. One of my collaborators, still is a resident there, one night was having a hiking with other few people, 5 or 6. They usually, sometimes when they're born there, they know the mountain very well, so sometimes they go in the night because it's quiet, because it's beautiful to hike at night. And they were scared to death when they felt something very big flying upon their head at a very low altitude, so much so that the wind almost took the hat away from them. And they were so scared because they said that was not a bird, it was too big. And they heard the flapping of the wing just once, which means that the whatever it was so big that with the flapping of the wings, it probably went away very fast. So we have indication. And then last June, when I was there with 5 people, and we were sitting on a vista point from the Val Malenco facing Sondrio, so the city. We saw one of these creatures just appearing from the woods to our right, gliding down. So it was not flying up, was gliding very fast. And it crossed the valley that it's about 5 to I would say from mountain to mountain, there are Alps to the right and Alps to the left. It could be several kilometers, 5 to 7 kilometers in 5 seconds. 5 seconds to glide from one mountain to another, disappearing into the woods. And one of us saw it very well and actually made a drawing. So this figure with the wings closed, so to exploit the speed, it didn't need to open the wings because it was gliding down, and you could see the legs in the back. So what we think these creatures are, we don't think they're aliens. We think they are cryptids. They are probably local. They have been living for who knows how long time inside the mountain, we believe underground. We believe this not just based on pure logic or hypothesis, but because we have some incidents in Middle East, namely Afghanistan and Iraq, where we know that some US troopers were sent into caves to spot and kill these creatures. We have account of bat-like winged creatures, females, according to the reports, that were spotted in caves and killed mercilessly by these troopers, and for not apparent reason. I mean, we don't know. The locals there, they call them vampires, of course, because of the legends and the movies and everything. And they thought, and they think they're dangerous creatures. Whether or not they're dangerous, I don't know, but in the Val Malenco area, they've been spotted at least 6 or 7 times in the last 2 years, and they never attacked anybody. If they can, they stay in the highest mountain. Sometimes they just fly. If you get closer to their territory, probably they come like those nocturnal expedition, the night hiking. What happened was that maybe they went too close to the area and one of them flew over them, but they didn't attack them. I mean, they're big enough, they could certainly attack a man, an adult man. They have, as you can see from this picture, that they appear to be quite muscular and bulky. They're not small, but they never, we have no report of being attacked. So again, this is the idea that I always have, that creatures that we do not understand doesn't mean that they are dangerous to us or that they deserve to be killed. They deserve to be understood. They deserve to be learned. But again, do we know if they are intelligent? Do we know if they have a consciousness? Do we know? So why we have to kill them just on the spot? Because of this, then your question previously said, are they afraid of us? To a point, they know that we are savages. we are able of
Mm.
killing others. We have unpredictable reactions. So of course they need to defend themselves. We are just not able to control our emotion. It's one of our, still I believe, it's one of our limits. Most of us, not all of us, most of us still in facing the unknown, facing something that we do not understand, we just cannot control our emotions.
I mean, that's something which you said right now makes so much of sense, to actually understand these species rather than, thinking that they are dangerous to us humans and the other way around. It would be, like I said earlier, the cohabitation of every species would be so beautiful. What do you think, Shomo? Over to you and your next question.
I just said that, instead of just, going all out and killing them, we should just first understand them, learn about them, study them, and then we can take a call on what we should do to progress the understanding their conscience and make our decisions. Yeah, that's what. So, which brings me to the next question, Diego. What is the most memorable incident you have had during this expedition?
I would like to, well, actually, I had more than once in 4 years of investigation there, at least once per year. In 2018, several, 2019, not, but last year, no, sorry, this year, we're still in 2020, last summer, I was there in August because after 4 years, we decided to prepare for one of our biggest feature of, well, our biggest goals was to climb on top of the mountain, the Pizzo Scalino mountain, which is over 3,000 meters above sea ground. And we think that majority of these sightings come from the very top of the mountain. There is something there. I mean, we just wanted to go and see this huge natural antenna, which, by the way, from some people is not natural at all. This mountain, it's just the coverage of something else inside. So we prepared it for going up, and we were escorted by two local guides, very expert. They were born there. They've been there for countless of times. They're very expert. And I trained myself about a year to do that hiking because it was not an easy way. There is not a trail. People go there, of course, mountaineers. They are expert people in the mountain. It's not as high as the mountains that you have, like Himalaya or Nepal, but it's considered to be like a medium. It's a medium hiking, so not completely easy. On the way up, the day before, I asked my guide about the water. I said, "Can we find any water in on top of the mountain, or how much water supply should I bring?" And he said, no, there is no water because they're just rocks, plain rocks. There is very little vegetation. It's mostly is rock. So you won't find any water. You need to bring it with you. Okay, so I prepared. I put it in my backpack, and I had enough supply of water. So we hiked for about 4 hours, and we were very close to the top. It's about 4 to 5 hours to reach the top, and then 4 or 5 hours to come down. So we were talking about 10 hours total. So we were like about 100, 150 meters under the top when I heard and I saw water. I saw like fresh water coming out of the rock in a little waterfall, like vertically. And I told the guide and I told the other people that were with me, you see, guys, that there is water. So why you said there is no water? And nobody answered. Well, we were tired. So I just made this comment and we continued to walk. When we reached the height of the spring, I couldn't see it because it was hidden by a huge rock. So I told them, I want to go drink that water. So please wait for me here. I go there, I refill my water, and I come back. And again, they didn't answer. They just stood there. And last time I saw them, they were all together standing in the middle of the trail. And I went behind the boulder. I didn't see them anymore, but I could still see the spring. I saw the water. The water was right in front of me. plenty of water, not just a little trickling water. It was like enough for me to wash my hands, wash my face, drink from the rock, and I refilled 3 small bottles of water. I calculated that I was there for about 10 minutes, the time to refresh myself, to refill the water, and then going back. When I went back, okay, then they didn't say anything. We continued to go up. We went on top. We had our lunch there, took some pictures, made videos, and then we walked back down after about 30, 40 minutes. When we reached again the level where the spring was, and on our descent, I looked back to see if the water was still there. I didn't see anything. I just saw dry rock, as if that rock was dried for years. There's no trace of water. No, I couldn't hear anything. But in that moment, I did not make the comment because we had another problem to solve, which was basically that our guides got lost, which is very particular because they were like was father and son. The father was 45 and he had been in that mountain since he was 12, and his son also, since he was very little, they went up and down that mountain almost every week. So they actually were very nervous. I could sense that they didn't expect that. They didn't know how to find the pass to go down. And there was kind of an argument. So we were busy trying to understand where we were and so forth. Then finally, of course, because their experience, they finally found a way. And after 1 hour, we basically lost 1 hour. Then we went down. There were other people waiting for us there. So we had some refreshment and everything. And the investigation, that was the last day of the investigation on that month. Then I went back home. My home is about 6 hours driving. So it took me a few days to recover, relax and everything. When I started to memorize, to recall the memories of that episode, already 1 week had elapsed. So 6 days later, I started to visualize what actually was going on there. And then it occurred to me about the spring. So I messaged the people that were with me on top of the mountain. I told them, did you guys hear when I told you that there was a spring and I actually went there to drink the water? Only 1 person out of 4 said, yes, I saw the spring, I saw the water, and I saw you going away. The others said, we didn't see the water, we didn't hear the water, we just saw you disappearing and you went away for more than 30 minutes. And we were worried and we were thinking that we had to go find you, but we just didn't move. For some reason, we kept on saying to ourselves, we have to find Diego, we have to find Diego, but they didn't move. When you came back, the girl who saw the water, she told me, she was the one who was taking pictures. She said that I looked very pale and I was moving very slow, as if I didn't have energy anymore. But I remember that I actually felt very energetic. I was in really good shape. So that when I started to think that few years before, one of the contacts that we have there told me that 2 of her students, she is a teacher, 2 of her students went up to that mountain and they saw a door. Like at 3,000 meters, they saw an iron door, metallic door that was very bright. And they got so scared that they flee immediately and they went back. And they told about this to the others. Nobody believed them. So I started to think. I put together what I saw and the fact that we got lost and this previous retell about the door and what the electromagnetic fields can do if they are very powerful. They can actually shift dimensions. They can actually show some realities that only people that have a frequency to see, they see them. But not all of us vibrate at the same frequency. In that case, maybe me and the girl could see the water. I went there, I felt the water, I drank the water. The others simply didn't, but for some reason they could not react to tell me, where are you going? Or we come with you. They were just standing there, as if when there is a clash of dimension, one dimension goes and the other one stays in slow motion, or for some reason timeline flows differently. That's why then on the way back we got lost, because probably we were, if this is my theory, that we were at the border with two different dimensions, and so everybody got disoriented. There was no orientation anymore until we continued to walk, and then we got out of that anomaly. Then the experience of the guide and their orientation came back, and they were able to recognize. But in that area, the hybrid area, where probably the two dimensions were very close, they were totally incapable of orientation, and they were tired and everything. So this, I believe, it's an experience that if you take it singularly, you could say, okay, you saw the spring, the girl saw it, the other didn't, or didn't hear anything, maybe they were tired. But if you put it into the context and perspective, you see that that mountain has a huge energy. And really, there can be doors there. So if the shepherds tell me that there are craft that go in and out of the mountain, after my experience, I'm not surprised anymore. I actually find it very logical.
Wow, what an experience, Diego. I mean, thinking about it, you must have been overwhelmed yourself after a week when you were trying to recollect the memories of the entire expedition or the trek that you had done. You know, talking about the rocks and the mountain, this next photograph, which I'm going to share right now, it's, you know, it looks as if it's a very steep rock or a mountain. I don't know what it is, but if you can throw some light, it looks like a very, very steep rock and a very sharp one at the same time. What do you think? Please give the viewers your point of view on that.
Yeah, we call that rock the Meridian, and we discovered it in 2017. Our first investigation there, we were scouting the area at the bottom of the mountain, the Pizza Scalina mountain, and we went off trail. We intended to explore the different little depressions of the terrain. That terrain is not flat. It's a combination of mounds and depression that can hide a lot of stuff from the site unless you go there. And this rock was in one of the most secluded depressions of that area. We came across that almost by accident, and we saw it and immediately were struck by the shape of the rock, but also the way in which it's positioned. As you can see, it can be natural. It's as if it was cut by a laser and then position stuck into other rocks to make it vertical as a finger pointing to the sky. And the fact that the tip is so thin, obviously with the sun projects the shadow on the ground, and at different time of the day the shadow moves. That's the reason why we called it the meridian, because you know it's the ancient way our ancestor used to measure the time.
Yes.
And when we discovered it for the first time, it was funny because the shadow pointed straight at the Pizza Scalino, at the mountain. So we took it as a sign. In the beginning, we thought, you know, as our investigation method is not that wild. I mean, we always try to follow a scientific approach. So we try to make all the rational hypotheses first, and then as they are ruled out, then we have to accept other explanation. So we thought about there was probably shepherds or the local people positioned there as a sign or symbol, landmark or something. And we questioned a lot of them that are around, and all of them said, no, we never saw something like this. It's not our customs, it's not our tradition. We don't do that. And we just know that we don't go there. We stay away from that area. So that's when we thought, okay, then it must be a landmark, but from something else, from the other side probably. And then we started to observe the behavior of our devices. In fact, there the cell phone don't work, and when we try to make videos, there is always interference. So the electromagnetic fields there, it's very powerful around that rock. Again, it's like a small antenna, but still we're talking about a 1.5, 1.6 meters tall rock. It's small if you compare it with the Pizzo Scalino, which is in the background, but it's still quite tall, we believe, to generate or to attract a certain magnetic field. And we felt it. I mean, some people there feel headaches, nausea. They feel like they're not comfortable there. Even in some instances, they are scared. I had people ask me to leave immediately when they were around that area. So I think it taps into different sensitivity, depending on your emotional nature, your status, also your psychophysical attitude.
How
and so
stable
forth.
you are.
Exactly. Yes, I believe so. And in that case, after so many years, 4 years, when there is that stone is completely covered, and yet the stone is always at its place, untouched, nobody and no atmospheric condition can even scratch that rock. It's there. And to us, it's a very interesting point, even because we made a discovery this year around that area, but I'm not going to tell you yet because we have to verify. Next year, we're going to go back there. We have to verify what we spotted. It's right before leaving, we saw something on a rock, and we just have to go back and double check.
We look forward to the verification and then you sharing it with us.
Yes.
For sure.
Can imagine.
So that brings to the last question from my side. Diego, what do you think is the probable future for us humans and aliens? Do you think we will get any kind of disclosure on this topic? And can both species coexist, as I was mentioning about cohabitation? What are your views on this?
Well, I would answer with a hope. I hope it will be the case in which humans can finally reach a level of understanding of not just our place in the world, but our role in the universe. And once we open up to the idea that we're just part of a huge system that is harmonious, so every single element of the system has a particular role and a particular reason to exist. Once we accept the existence of these elements, then we can talk about coexistence. So the exointegration that we believe is the Val-Malenko by no means is a perfect exointegration. There, obviously, when it comes to human nature, I don't believe in perfection as a whole. I still think that imperfection is the reason why we exist, because through the imperfection we can continue to evolve. So I also believe that alien civilizations, other civilizations, they do not have perfection. But I do believe that harmony is possible. And through harmony, we can all learn together and continue to evolve. So my hope is that we reach a level. I don't know how many of us will be able to do that. Probably there will have to be a kind of a selection. But still, it's in the nature of things. Whoever is capable of accepting this and then will get in touch with higher powers or more advanced civilization, then we will benefit from each other. Once this happens, then I think we will see reality and the world as we have never seen before. The experience that we can have will be indescribable, unique. And I hope this will happen soon, but there are many forces There are forces also who are opposing to this. What you do, what Shlomo does in his channel, what I do, we are all trying to contribute to accelerate this process. So we are doing our best. We'll continue to do that. Then it's not just up to us, but at least personally and individually, we can tell, we are doing what we can to open up to this new reality. And I believe, after the hope, I tell you also a belief. I believe that we will make it.
Right, right. And hope is so important. I mean, at the end of it, humanity and every species or everything around us is based on hope. If all of us have hope,
Yes.
there is everything. I mean, the possibilities are humongous. So, Shobhu, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel that hope is the biggest reason why we live and continue to prosper and motivate ourselves to progress in life. And we can leverage that with the understanding and study of these life forms, the extraterrestrial, and coexist with them with harmony. Like I said in some of my earlier questions, some feedback that, though we don't get the permission to get the mass linkage with the aliens, it would have actually, if we would have got that, it would have actually opened a lot of avenues towards education, towards learning, towards a lot of other kind of avenues in life about business and a lot of other studies, and it could have opened up other type of theme parks of the extraterrestrial. So a lot of things could have happened. A lot of things can happen if we can make it happen. So yeah, those are my views. It's absolutely amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shomo. Thank you. So, Diego, before we end this interview, I want to show you a few more pictures. And this one is with your friends, I believe. And there's something behind. I guess it's on your side. I mean, right above you. There's something. It's like an orb. And the other two pictures also shows the same orb, I believe, but has different colors and has something written on them. It is very intriguing. First of all, I thought, what was this? Was it a moon on a different night or something? So I don't know, but what do you think? What was it? And what
Okay.
was written on it?
Let me put this picture and the highlights that you're going to show later into perspective. These kind of balls of light are called orbs, and usually are, for science, are defined as a glitch in the camera. Like when you take a picture and you see this ball of lights on the screen, they think,
Yes.
or they say, it's because there is a defect in the lens. The lens is dirty, or the light it's not focused, and so forth. In this case, however, I really want the scientists of the photography to explain in what glitch we find runes inside these globes. Runes is an ancient language of the Nordic people in Europe, from Iceland to Norway to Germany. Like the ancient Vikings, they used to write. One of the earlier writing systems was the runes, and each symbol has a significance in itself. So in the picture, you see me in the middle, and then my friend and the Explan member Alessio to my right, and Tom Bosco, my fellow researcher and friend, to the left. Each of us have orbs, we can continue to call them with this name, orbs next to our head.
Yes.
You can see, if you highlight, that the runes inside, one is should be the Fehu. Another one next to me is a Hawaz, which means a horse. And the one next to Tom, a kind of a fish shaped, it's a Othalam. They are alphabetic letters, but they also have meaning. So they're like ideograms, like the Chinese, they still use. So once I saw that, and then we have extensive material, documentation about this. This is just one of scores of pictures that we have of orbs that appear when beings are in the picture, and also humans are in the pictures in that area. We have orbs sporting inside faces, languages, um, especially portraits or symbols. And another particular thing of these orbs in these pictures is that the most you enlarge them, highlight them, the more focused the picture, the images are inside. When we send this to labs, and actually our also technical lab analyzed them, our tech guy told us that usually in the digital technology, when you highlight a picture, like the more you enlarge, the more the pixels distance themselves, so the picture is
Right.
not on focus. In this case,
Right.
it's exactly the contrary. The more you highlight, the more knitted, the more visible the image inside the orb is. And they said this is an absolute anomaly. They never seen something like this before. They can't explain it. So this is another thing that I'm glad that you brought it up now when we were talking about consciousness, because we believe that those orbs are especially emanation of people's consciousness, not just alien but also humans.
Wow.
And we are beginning to think that those orbs appear when there is some strong emotional shift or emotional event, even unconscious, that we don't realize it. For example, in that picture, we were going to a place where there were some symbols on a rock, and around us, we heard something. We were in a little bit of strained condition, like we were very attentive, we were alert, because we knew that there was something around us in the dark, but we didn't see that. Other pictures that we have from other people, especially teenagers or children, they have tons of these orbs around their head, and they're also very emotional. So this is just the beginning of another kind of investigation. It involves aliens only to a point, but it involves a lot more consciousness, our ability to materialize things with the power of our mind or our emotions, which your culture and many other culture have this idea, especially your culture, about to materialize objects and ideas with the power of the mind, which is to me very interesting.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, Shobha, you were saying something.
No, I just reciprocated it. It's absolutely amazing what he said right now. It is the power of conscience that can realize. Yeah,
True. I
totally
mean,
agree.
it is the power of the mind that can make manifestations happen, that can make things happen which one believes in completely with the conviction. And today, the interview, I mean, we are nearly at the end of the interview. So, viewers, I hope you guys have enjoyed this interview. It's actually a Pandora's box, which has been opened by Diego Antolini of the X-Plan Research Group, all the way from Italy. It's like an introduction of the galactic beings to humanity. And I'm really thankful to you, Diego, to be able to give us this perspective. It has been very enlightening for me. I'll be very honest. Few of the things that you have shared, I only thought it exists in movies because I'm an actor, so it comes to me from that perspective. But with the documentation and with the proof that you have shared with us, with the viewers and audience, this shows that all this is existent while we are alive right now. So, Shobha, would you like to say a few things before we end the interview?
Absolutely, Abhishek. I really do. Even I am an aspiring actor, a YouTuber, and I'm into the media business. I'm into advertising, and I have also seen some of these movies wherein I had actually imagined that what would be the Earth with these aliens. MIB is a great example. Men in Black. Now, how can we coexist with them? How can we coexist in harmony with them? And there you go. Diego has shown the way. Open the Pandora's box, and then we have the answers and how we can approach and coexist in harmony with them. And I guess this is an absolute great platform, a great interview we had, Abhishek, wherein we got to know the answers to that. And that's all I have to say. It was amazing. It was enlightening, and it was absolutely marvelous at this auspicious event of Diwali.
Wonderful, wonderful. Diego, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, just uh, to bid farewell for this interview, I would like to say one thing. A big thanks to Energy to Karma for the courage that he had to put us all together in of it. So along with my deep thanks to Energy to Karma, of course, I want to thank you and Shlomo for this wonderful interview in this special day of Diwali. So my best greetings and wishes to all the India people that can enjoy this celebration, and that hopefully through our interview they will interact with us, ask you a question, and hopefully want to know more. That's the reason why we're all here.
Absolutely, Diego. Thank you so much for your kind words. And viewers, as Diego said, that this is today a very, very auspicious day, a day of lights, Deepavali or Diwali. So thank you so much for joining us, Diego. Thank you, Shomu, so much. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you.
Wishing you
Thank you.
all a very, very happy Diwali. And please take good care of yourselves. Thank you.